Dear Sangha, dear brothers and sisters, I'm Geert, I'm Dutch. My question is concerning my biggest struggle in the practice at the moment. Because I try to focus on my breath, but at the same time, you have to be aware of your body, and you have to be you have to be aware of your perceptions, and you have to be aware of your thoughts, and at the same time you have to let your thoughts go, and and to, and you have to be aware of your feelings, and to let your feelings go, and and um, and then it feels that you have to do everything at the same time, and that it's, and then during the practice I got really stressed and upset with myself, because it's not possible to do everything at the same time. So I'm curious about your perspective on that.
So thank you for your question. I will just start, and then my brothers and sisters can improve whatever I say. I once asked Tai a similar question. I asked Tai, can you pay attention to only one thing, or can you pay attention to more than one thing? It was a similar thought that motivated the question, and Tai smiled and he said, 1.5. So somehow we know that we practice being aware of our breath as our breath comes in and out. And when we want to practice being aware of something else, for example, a feeling, like a feeling of anxiety, or a feeling of anger, or a feeling of loneliness, then the awareness of the breath can support the awareness of the feeling. So they're not completely separate. So we have an idea that they're two different things. There's the breath over here and the feeling over here, and how can I be aware of both of them? But when we look more deeply in our experience, we see that they're not exactly two separate things. And that our awareness of the breath somehow carries and supports our awareness of the feeling. And when we pay attention to our body, when we bring our attention back to the sensations in our body, it's very natural that we actually become aware of our feelings at the same time, because the feelings are, to a large extent, in the body. So becoming aware of our body is already becoming aware of our feelings. And the two are not really separate either. And the same thing with the thinking. It's not exactly a separate thing. It's not like, there's a box with thinking in it, and it's sealed. And then over here there's another box with feelings in them, and it's sealed, and there's no communication. The two are very deeply linked. So it's very interesting to watch where our awareness goes in our meditation, and to see it. Sometimes it seems to jump, aware of a sound outside, a dog barking in the street, and then aware of a thought, and then aware of a pain in the body, and then I have to remember to be aware of my breathing, and it seems to jump around, is very kind of scattered. But then gradually, as we allow the attention to settle, we choose one thing, like the breath, and we focus our attention, and it becomes more and more stable. And then it seems like it can actually include more and more things in the breath without jumping around. So it can be that we are stably focused on our breathing, and our breathing can enfold and embrace our feelings, our body, our thinking. And we usually like to follow a sequence that the Buddha taught. So we usually start with the breath, and then we come to the body. And as we calm the body, it's like you become aware of finer and finer sensations, more and more subtle sensations. So the body sensations are kind of obvious in a sense. There's a bit of tension, a bit of discomfort, or a pleasant feeling. They're quite obvious. And then as you sort of quiet those sensations and calm them down, you might kind of notice, oh, there's a feeling there I didn't notice before. And it gradually flows very naturally from the awareness of the body into the awareness of the feelings. And as the feelings become more settled, more quiet, then the faster thinking becomes more clear. And then we can quiet that, and then we can become aware of our perceptions. So there's really no separation between any of them. They kind of flow from one to the other. But there is somehow a natural sequence from one to the other that we can kind of go through that sequence in our meditation. Let that